Hey, everybody. How are you doing? Wom, Louise, Angel Bear, Marissa, Amy, and you're welcome. Thank you for sending this case. It's really important that we get the word out on this. Teresa, Vigils, Watcher, Wom, Annie, hey. If I didn't get everybody, hey, Graz and Nico, Chris G, Otto, David, thank you all for being here. So we have a guest tonight. She's going to tell her sister's story. This is a very heartbreaking story. And it's even more heartbreaking because it has had no attention. Nobody's talking about it. It needs to be talked about. And Ellie needs pressure. And so this is how I want it to work tonight, guys. First of all, you always know that I want respect in the chat, okay? So I want respectful comments and questions. Hey, Kubi. But I want her story to be told and heard, and then questions can be asked, okay? I don't want questions to be asked why she's telling the story. Because they can't really be answered anyway, why she's talking. So I just want you to hold off on the questions until she's done telling the story. So I'm going to bring her on now. Her name is Brittany. She's going to tell the story of her sister, Danielle Akers, who also is known by Gabby. She was murdered on April 26th, 2016. Tomorrow will be her 5th anniversary. And I'm going to bring her on now.
Hey, guys.
Everybody welcome Brittany. And comments come through slow. Hello, everybody new coming in. This is Chaotic Beauty. That's Amy. She's the one that sent the case to me, Brittany. She's been following it. So, I asked Brittany if, before she told the story, if we could watch a video just so you guys could see and get a general idea. It's a video from Fox 59, Russ McQuaid. And they were the last ones to report on this, right? Brittany?
Sorry, you were breaking up a little bit.
I'm sorry. Fox 59 were the last ones to report on Gabby's case, right?
I think I've got good Wi-Fi. A second here. It's messing up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
It's a little laggy. It's kind of hard to hear. I heard something about Fox 59 and Russ McQuaid.
Yeah, he was the last one to report on Gabby's case.
Yeah, they did an updated story a couple of years ago. And kind of just trying to get more coverage on it, but that was the last time we had any news coverage on the story. Was a couple years ago. I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. And I didn't find any news articles or anything. I just found that. And so we'll watch that real quick, guys. Okay. I'm going to share and click on it. I couldn't save it to watch or it would go into another video. So I'm sorry. And again, welcome everyone that's coming in. Thank you for being here. And I'll get you named one by one afterwards. Okay, guys? Come on. Oh, I need to shut my Facebook off.
Vaccines become available, you may have questions. And that's normal. So for the latest information, visit getvaccineanswers.org. It's up to you.
2016, an Indianapolis woman lost touch with her sister, a mother of two who had a pretty tough life. Soon, authorities called Brittany Akers to identify the tattoos on the body found more than 50 miles away. In today's Indy Unsolved, Fox 59's Russ McQuaid searches for answers in the murder of Gabby Akers.
It's been almost 3 years since Gabby Akers' body was found washed up in the brush here alongside of Mills Creek in Owen County, and police and her family still don't know why.
I don't think in a million years that we thought that after 3 years we would have nothing.
Gabby Akers didn't have a car or a cell phone or a steady place to live or work, but she had a sister who worried about her.
With Gabby, whenever we did see her, she didn't look unhealthy by any means.
The last time anyone saw Gabby was April 20th, 2016, nowhere near Owen County. 9 days later, a passing school bus of kids noticed something in the creek, a body so decomposed, investigators could not call it homicide.
They had told us that they found 22 different drugs in her system. They wouldn't determine whether or not it was foul play or a homicide at that point. But we were told with the combination of drugs that were in her system, that would have killed her instantly. She was only prescribed pain medications by her doctor, and she never would have used heavy drugs in her life.
Captain Eric Touton of the Owen County Sheriff's Department told us a coroner couldn't determine Gabby's time of death, and investigators are mystified as to how she ended up in a creek so far from where she was living on the south side of Indianapolis. Touton says investigators have searched the home where Gabby was living in Indy and found some items, but not enough to explain her death. Brittany Akers said because of her past abusive relationships, her sister envisioned a fatalistic future.
That's the heartbreaking thing, because we know Gabby didn't do this to herself. And she told us on a regular basis that one of these days that she was going to end up dead. And I didn't believe her half the time, to be honest, because I thought she was making it up.
Gabby Akers had dreams for herself and her two kids, including going back to school and becoming a nurse. Now, her family's dream is to determine who or what took all that away. With Indy's Unsolved, I'm Russ McQuaid.
Investigators tell us they still need information about Gabby Akers' last hours, and they want to talk to anybody who has any information, has seen her in Indianapolis or Owen County. So if you have that information, call Crime Stoppers. That number again, 262-TIPS.
Well, please.
Stay connected with News Nation 24/7.
Okay. Can you hear me, Brittany?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Oh, let me turn the volume down. I turned it way up for the video. Okay. So welcome everybody that came in during the video. And this is Brittany. She's going to tell the story of her sister, Danielle Akers, aka Gabby.
All right. Well, a lot of the information that I got was very misconstrued in the beginning. It was kind of all over the place to start off. My brother was kind of known for going off the grid for a while. Most of the time, her cell phone was have like legitimate service, so she'd have to go to places that had in order to contact people. Um, it became apparent that she had gone missing because she hadn't checked in with her best friend, which was known to talk to her on a regular basis, or at least see her on a regular basis. So it wasn't until my brother contacted me and said that our sister hadn't been heard from in a while. And I hoped that somebody would have gone ahead and, reported it to the police that she had gone missing. But we didn't. Apparently, somebody said that they had reported her missing, and then it turned out to be a complete and total lie. So it was a little bit on the frustrating side, just for the simple fact that there was all this time that went by and nobody had reported her missing. The one person that claimed that they had reported her apparently had lied about it. I guess because I had contacted IMPD and said, hey, I want an update on the missing persons report for Gabby Akers. And the person that I talked to on the phone, they said, well, we a missing persons report for Gabby. There was a report that was IMP showed up to take the report, but they did not want to submit the report, so the report was never actually filed. My brother then claimed that he was going to make the report. Lived outside of the Indianapolis, Marion County jurisdiction. I wasn't able to make that report. And after I found out that days and days and days went by and nobody made the report, I decided to contact IMPD, and I said, look, send an officer to such and such station. I'm going to drive into Marion County and I'll make the report myself. At that point, I ticked off just because everybody worried about where she was. Everybody was talking about how she was missing. Mostly because anybody that had dealings with, they had warrants, they were known to the cops in a bad way. And I was really the only one with a clean record enough to be able to make court. So the day that I made the report, that was on the 29th of April, the officer then told me that because of who she hung out with, wouldn't do a full investigation, but they would eventually probably find her during a traffic stop. It's pretty livid. Bother to really thing. They just said because she hangs out with so and so, we'll probably find her in a traffic stop. So over the next couple of days, we had posted all kinds of Facebook things saying, hey, Gabby's missing. Anybody knows where she is, contact her family. And then on 1st of 2016, I got a call from coroner's office. He said, I don't know if you know where Owen County is, but we believe that we may have found your sister. And at that point, I was confused because Owen County was. I had never heard of Owen County. And Gabby lived in Marion County, so it didn't make any sense for Owen County to be calling me and telling me this. So he said that they believe that they found my based upon the pictures that were posted. He was fairly confident that that was the case. So I was trying not to jump to conclusions. I was definitely freaked out. So obviously my whole world shattered at that point. It was really hard to take in that information. because we weren't expecting it. Sorry. So I couldn't tell that, obviously, because he's a truck driver, and the last thing I want is for on the road and hear something like that. I called him, and my brother decided to kind of go and tell about it rather than keeping it to himself until we knew 100% for sure. So I drove down to Owen County, sat with the detectives. I believe it was Detective Eric Touton. Sat down with him and my brother, and I asked them, I said, I want to see my sister. I want to make sure that it's not her. And they told me that her body was so badly decomposed that there was no way to allow me to her body. So they had taken pictures of her tattoos, which we knew that she had. And so I pictures of the tattoos, and I knew right then and there that that was my sister, 100%. I didn't do with that information, and I mean, I was honestly, I couldn't believe it. That was the last thing that we had hoped for. It didn't make sense for her to be in Owen County. Come to find out, Owen County was 60 miles from where she lived, and Gabby, and they told us that they found her at Mills Creek. They found her in Mills Creek, which was in the middle of nowhere in Owen County. And they said that they found her completely naked, no clothes on, no identification, no nothing, just lying in a creek bed. And I didn't even know like how that could have even happened because she didn't have a car. So we gave her all of we gave cops all of the information that we had. We knew who she hung out with. And I think the hardest part, calling our stepmom, because I mean our stepmom practically raised us, at least raised me for the most part, raised Gabby for quite a while. And the hardest part was to call her and tell her that that it was Gabby. It was her body that they found, and they don't have any leads yet. They just, at that point, they didn't really give us a whole lot of information when it came to Gabby's remains. Her biological mother decided to basically fight my parents or our parents on body autopsy or things like that. So we didn't need to keep Gabby's body to bury, do the memorial service, but I mean, because of the major decomposition, her body being so overly saturated because she was in the water for such a long time, they're due with it. And come to find out, the coroner gave her date of death as April 26th. And the worst part of it is that a missing persons report didn't get put in until the 29th, because apparently family members and friends that were close with Gabby to be more cops rather than worrying more about where her. It was trying to avoid the cops at all. So rather than putting in that, was able to put it in, it was too late. So I did what I could do at that point in time, but we were too late to try to save her. As far as I am aware, the FBI investigated her grandmother, or not her grandmother, but her daughter's grandmother, because supposedly hefty life insurance policy was put out on Gabby prior to her death. The person that she lived with had IV bags all over his place. All of Gabby's clothes were still there. And from what we heard, he was trying to sell them. His minivan was lined with plastic prior to Gabby going missing. His word that he was moving, and so he had his van plastic apparently. So they did investigate. Supposedly, nothing came of that. He has since moved to Montana. And when the coroner told us that they did a toxic report and they also did a rape kit, obviously just assaulted. There was nothing stating that she had been sexually assaulted, but they found 22 different systems, and they said that that would have killed her instantly. So she would not have been able to get herself down to Owen County. She would not have been able to, and on Wednesday, the 20th of April 2016, I believe that she was last seen at the gas station at Tibbs and Morris in Indianapolis. So as far as I am aware, that is where she was last seen. So if that's the case, she somehow got down 60 miles away by somebody else. And with is the only one that even had ties down to that, because he mushroom hunted down there. And he was cleared, and they, at this point, they claim that it's still an open investigation, but they do not have any leads. I've tried to contact the detective that has taken bride. I asked for information regarding the autopsy report because I wanted to know if there was fluids at the time of her death, or if there was not, rather than after being put in the creek. So that's pretty much all the information that we have at this point. And we're still hoping that we'll get somewhere at some point, but as of right now, that's where the case sits. I mean, we've got nothing. I think you're
I'm sorry, I was muted. You broke up a little bit. Who did you say mushroom hunted in that area down in Spencer?
Say that again. You broke up a little bit.
Who did you say mushroom hunted down in that area in Spencer?
Yeah, Sarge was
Sarge.
that's what we were told, is that Sarge had ties.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Was that she was found in, he would be the one said that that creek is hard to, it is. So he's the only one that would have known, at least from what we know.
I'm sorry, I'm just checking to see if we're both freezing up. Are we both lagging? Okay. Because every once in a while you're freezing up. So, okay, yeah, every once in a while you're freezing up. And I didn't know if it was on my end or not, but they're saying you're freezing up every now and then. So, okay, so it was Sarge then. And he's the one with the van as well, right? Can you hear me okay, Brittany?
Okay. Are you?
Can you hear me? There is a delay between her and me, so it does take a second for
I
her to
wonder
hear
if
me.
maybe I take the video off if it might help. Let's see. Oh, I thought maybe.
Can you hear me?
Is that better? Are you able to hear me better?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
It was breaking up. It's breaking up a little bit. So I thought maybe if I cut my video feed off, it might help a little bit.
I can try that too. I don't know if that makes a difference, but can you hear me now, Brittany?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's not as laggy. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that made a difference. Learn something every day. So Sarge, and he's the one with the van too, right?
Yeah, Sarge was the one.
Okay. Well, everybody's saying it's much better. So, wow, I didn't know that made a difference. Learn something every day. Okay, so, well, it's really frustrating, well, when Brittany and I were talking, one thing she said is that, and if any of you listen to Crime Junkies podcast, a lot of times people don't want to talk. Unless they get clean. And remember, Gabby wasn't into that scene, but a lot of people maybe, had been that, were in that little circle, and they may know something, but they're afraid to talk until, unless they get sober, because they're scared of either their supply getting cut off or, of course, snitching. When you're a snitch, then, so, okay. So again, thank you all for being here, and hello to everyone that has came in that I may have missed. So now if you have any questions for Brittany, I will put them up on the screen for her to see. Please be respectful. Yes, we turned the videos, our pictures off because we were lagging, and it seemed to help. Sorry, Louise. You don't want to look at my mug anyway, do you? I know.
Definitely
I
helped
saw
quite a bit.
Yeah. Any questions? Yep, Sharon, I did. They believe, yeah, she was put there, vigils, by somebody because she lived in Indianapolis and this was 60 miles away. Oh, I forgot to put it up there for you. I'm sorry, Brittany.
It's okay.
Thank you, Sharon. Lake is saying, how could they clear Guy living with Tabby? And I put that up there for you too.
Honestly, that was one question that we had. The question for you guys on TikTok, if you're not aware, they asked how could they clear Sarge of Gabby's crime. From what we know is that the FBI supposedly raided his home, but which I don't know how the FBI would have gotten involved in this case, because it's not like it's not unless it was because it was a drug crime. But from what I am aware of, there was nothing really, I guess, tying him to the crime. Nothing evidence worth, other than the fact that Gabby lived there. Um, and they didn't have any DNA linking him to her. They didn't really give us a whole lot of information stating why they cleared him, but they supposedly cleared everybody that they talked to, which didn't make sense because he seemed to be the most, the most suspicious out of everybody that they investigated, besides her daughter's grandmother, with the life insurance policy. But there was there's a massive drug ring in Indianapolis. Whether or not Gabby was tied to that, but she was tied to the people within that drug ring. And from what I guess talking to a psychic, and I know it sounds crazy, but talking to a psychic, she did tell us after, because I did a mediumship with a psychic, and it was claimed to have said that um, Gabby was doing drugs, and that was some of her deepest, darkest secrets that she hadn't told any of us. But we honestly had no idea. She didn't fit the profile of somebody that used drugs, other than just her having a difficult lifestyle. But she didn't look unwell by any means. Typically, somebody that does hard drugs like heroin or methamphetamines, things like that, you can start to see them slowly decline over a period of some time after doing those drugs. Um, and Gabby she didn't fit that profile. So after the mediumship reading that we had, it just didn't make sense that um, for Gabby to do drugs. But the fact that there were 22 different drugs in her system, those were put there by somebody else. Those were not put there by Gabby herself. She did admit that she did them herself, or she did some drugs herself, but everything else she had nothing to do with. So obviously, Sarge knows what happened. He still claims to this day that he had no idea, he was not involved, but I fully still believe 100% Sarge had some kind of dealings in Gabby's death. There's no doubt about it at all, period.
And the next question is from AJ about justice. Is Brittany able to expand on what Gabby's conversation about saying something might happen to her? Did she mention who might be frightening her? With respect, please and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Gabby had told us on numerous occasions that eventually one of these days somebody's going to kill her. There was one guy in particular. He goes by the name of Sam. He was known to stalk Gabby. he had an obsession with her. Gabby did not want to be in a relationship with him. But Sam was the type of guy that if he could not have Gabby, then nobody could. Gabby did have a restraining order put out on him. And he also had a trailer that his window overlooked the gas station of where she was last seen. Sam had violated his restraining order on multiple occasions. But other than that, around the time that Gabby died, I don't know if they investigated Sam either. But he did have a sick obsession with my sister, and Gabby knew it. So she specifically told us on numerous occasions that one of these days that she was going to end up dead. Gabby did, however, have a history of being a pathological liar. I hate to say that about my sister, but there were a lot of times where she would say things that just they weren't true, or she felt that they were true, but they weren't. And so it being very hard to differentiate between reality and the truth with her, since I didn't see her very often, I just kind of assumed that it was a dramatic thing. And of course, to this day, it's very hard to tell myself that, that it's not my fault, that I didn't do everything that I could have to help her. But she had a habit of saying things that weren't 100% true. So when she said that somebody was going to kill her one day, um, I just assumed that she was being extremely dramatic. And of course, here we are today, 5 years later, and what she said was true, and we didn't take it to heart like we should have.
Well, you can't hold that on yourself. You can't. You'll let that eat you up. Mel, which is Cold Truth, she came in late and she said, "Are there any leads?" In which they're saying no.
Yeah,
now.
as of right now, there are no leads. After talking to the medium, there was some information that was provided that we were not aware of. Supposedly, Gabby was taken in a red CRV. And the only other thing that we have is that somebody that is high up in authority knows what happened, and was being blackmailed to stay quiet. And the only initials that we were given were KM, or M and K. Somebody with very short blonde hair or something like that. But we don't have any idea on who that may be. But we don't know if it's a conspiracy theory type situation, where whether or not this is, legitimate information. But as far as we know, according to the medium, that Gabby was taken in a red CRV, and she was already dead while she was in that vehicle.
Oh, goodness. So, Louise, how long had she been in the creek, could they say?
She was in the creek from, they said her date of death would have been April 26th, and her body was not found until the 29th. So she was at least in there for several days before her body was found. And it was actually found by a passing school bus of kids. They thought that they saw a body down there, that they weren't sure. But when they went and looked and investigated, it was very hard to tell that it was a body because it was so badly decomposed. But unfortunately, a bus full of kids saw her body in the creek, and that's when they called the police and had it investigated.
Yeah. And there was no DNA found, right?
As far as we are aware, no DNA, just the toxicology report.
Yes, the chat's on slow mode. I tried to take it. I accidentally put it on. I tried to take it off. It wouldn't let me. I put it on 0 and it wouldn't work. So I put it on 2 seconds. Let's see. Making sure I don't skip the questions. Oh, Watcher says, could they have thought she was going to snitch or tell?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. One of the other theories that was out there was that her daughter's grandmother was involved because of the fact that Gabby knew some information that she either wasn't supposed to know or was going to tell somebody about. But her daughter's father's uncle was already in jail for something, God knows what. And I believe her daughter's father was also incarcerated. There were claims that Gabby was going to get a lump sum of money for working with the cops on this information, but we already know that whatever money was taken in because of a drug bust or something like that, they don't give that money to anybody. So whether or not that is a legitimate truth, we don't know. But we did have a theory that she was supposed to testify against her daughter's uncle, and in order to prevent her from testifying, they could have drugged her and made it look like an accident to prevent her from testifying. But that's something we don't know. And the drugs, yes, they were. They did say that was the cause of death, was an overdose.
Yeah. And they did find her clothes and shoes and purse at Sarge's, right?
Yes, they were at Sarge's house where she was staying at. That's where all of her items were. She was completely nude when she was found in the creek.
Otto asks, was the crime scene sealed and studied, or was it a rush to get the body out?
That I don't know because we were not there at the time. Like I said, this was 60 miles away. I was living in Johnson County at the time, and my parents were living in Shelby County. So I was not notified of her body being found until a few days later. Owen County is investigating. Marion County does not have jurisdiction over the case because of where Gabby's body was found in Owen County. So Owen County is the investigating team down there. But as far as we know of, they're not doing a darn thing.
When Gabby was last seen at the gas station, was there any camera footage of that to see who she was with, if anyone, or what her demeanor was by anyone who saw her?
Gabby was last seen at the gas station, I believe, on April 20th of 2016. Supposedly the daughter's grandmother had dropped her off at the gas station, or somebody was supposed to be picking her up. My brother claims that he went to look at the footage at the gas station and claimed that there was nothing to see. But he also has a history of drug use, so whether or not his information is correct, We don't know, but I know that the information about the gas station was given to Owen County. Whether or not they looked into that, we don't know.
Do you feel like the detectives are doing the best they can do or they can with her case? It seems like sometimes they unfortunately brush off people that may have been into drugs, or they think.
For me personally, I don't think that they are doing the best that they can. The last time I was in contact with the detective, about Gabby's case, he didn't have a whole lot of information for me. All he could say was that it's still an open investigation and that they're doing everything that they can. But I was also relayed some information from somebody that knows the sheriff down in Owen County. And word was that the sheriff of Owen County has specifically said that my sister Gabby was a crackhead that nobody cared about. So as for my feelings on how Owen County is handling the investigation, I don't believe that they're handling the investigation at all. I believe that they brushed it off because of the drug usage.
Well, that really irks me. And Amy wants to know, did they mention any other injuries?
Nope, they didn't say anything about any injuries. I did try to contact I actually had a friend of mine that is a dispatcher in Texas who had heard the case through Crime Junkies. And she was wanting to do a little bit more investigation herself. She asked me to contact the detective in Owen County to ask if there had been water in her lungs, based upon the autopsy report. So I contacted the detective and asked him to give me some information about the autopsy report, which he would not respond to me. He has not called me back or anything. So I contacted the coroner's office, and she said that the autopsy report was given to her parents, and so her parents should have it. So I explained to the coroner that the autopsy report was given to her biological mother, and we, as her sister, her father, and her stepmother, we do not have that report. So then she stated that my father needed to get the report, which the last thing I want to do is ask my father to get an autopsy report and have him go through this even more. Our father obviously is in his 60s. He's had heart problems. So the last thing that I want to do is put him in that position to request for an autopsy report. I was hoping that I could do that myself. But Owen County does not want to cooperate with me. And they only want to communicate with my parents, which is even more difficult. So I haven't been able to get any information from Owen County lately. And I do not have a list of the drugs that were used. My guess is that is in the autopsy report, which they will not give me. No, not at all.
Yeah. It's really saddening, the way Ellie handles certain cases. You know, if they think they're drug users, or if they're poor, or if they were sex workers, or indigent, or, you know, it's really upsetting and sad. A life is a life, no matter what, and should be investigated the same way every time. AJ says, does Brittany know what Sarge's movements or behaviors were after Gabby was found? Also, were there any friends or associates of Gabby's who left town soon after?
Sarge claimed that he was in the process of moving. Our other sister saw him soon before Gabby went missing, or it might have been after Gabby had went missing and we just weren't aware of it yet. But she found that his van was lined with plastic. And when our sister questioned him about it, he said he was moving and didn't want to get his van dirty. Most normal human beings do not line their vehicles with plastic when they go to move. And he is on the disabled side. He does walk with a cane. He is a much older gentleman. I can't even call him a gentleman at this point. But he is much older. And he did walk with a cane. But he claimed that he was moving upstate in Indiana around the time of Gabby's disappearance. And he decided to show his face to Gabby's memorial that we held. And he acted as if nothing happened. He gave us his condolences. And he is now suddenly in Montana. So he did move up north in Indiana for a short while and then moved to Montana. And then Gabby's daughter's grandmother moved down to Florida soon after as well. From what we were told after she got the life insurance money from Gabby's death. And then was trying to convince my niece to move down to Florida. We believed it was so that way she could receive welfare benefits because she was running out of the life insurance. And so she'd be able to get welfare benefits for having her granddaughter living with her. I don't know if that's the truth or not. But of course, at this point, everything is speculation since nothing is concrete. And we don't have anyone sitting in jail for current charges.
Amy says, can I contact you about this case after the live? Brittany? Did we lose you, Brittany? She's had a little difficulty tonight. Brittany, are you still here? Oh, well, let's see if she comes back. Let's see if she comes back. But that would be awesome, Amy, because, you know, you rock at research. This is such a sad case, though. I mean, she had to ask Fox 59 to air again. The police aren't doing anything. I know, Amy. I know. I'm messaging her. It may have gotten to be too much. We'll see. She lost connection. She's trying to get back in. I didn't see Lake's. Wonder if there is record of someone trying to claim the life. Oh, that's a good question, Lake. I don't know. Oh, I think I read about that too, Louise. Goodness, Anna. Yes, I will, Amy. Absolutely. She must be having a hard time. She was broadcasting this on her TikTok too, so. Very welcome, Amy. Well, Jack. Yeah. Sad. Very sad. Oh, well, I know they have a GoFundMe and it's in the description, but it was for hoping to get somebody to talk to lead to the arrest. But maybe they could use it for that. The police are not doing anything. I emailed the sheriff, but that wasn't till Friday, so, but I still don't expect anything back. You're welcome, Crime. We'll wait a few more minutes. Again, thank you all for being here. And I know I wasn't able to call you out by name. But thank you for being here to hear her story. And please share this so it can get the word out. These are the kind of cases that need to be heard. You're welcome, Amy. Thank you for sending it to me. I wished I could have gotten it done sooner, actually. Right, Crime. Yeah. Prayers. Prayers for answers. Prayers for someone to talk. Maybe, Watcher. Let me see what she's... Thanks, Marissa. I didn't mean for it to go so that color actually, but oh well, grows out. I do too, I do too. Oops. Okay, I'm waiting on an answer. She's having any luck. Yeah, Shelby. Yeah, there are Annie. I don't think she's having any luck, poor thing. Well, hello, Digger. What's up? Oh, she's back. Hi.
I'm back. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know what happened. First, I had connection on my iPad, and then I didn't. So I grabbed my little tiny phone, hoping that it would work, and it did. So, yay. I apologize. It took me forever to come back.
Well, thank you, Digger. You lurker, you. Okay. Well, okay. So before you left, Amy wanted to know if she could contact you after the live. She is an awesome rockin' researcher.
Yes, absolutely. I was actually trying to respond to her when I lost the feed, and so yes, absolutely. She is definitely more than welcome to contact me afterwards.
Okay, great. Awesome. Because that girl can research, I'm telling you. So that's awesome.
Did you say that Amy, you said Amy was the one that recommended it, right? Did she know Gabby?
She sent me the case. She didn't know her. She just had followed the case. And she has
Okay.
she has a big heart for cases that unsolved cases and ones that need justice and that are not getting attention.
Right. Well, I definitely appreciate her reaching out to you.
Yeah, I do too. Oh, she said she had met. Oh, okay, I misunderstood. I'm gonna put it up there. I met her a few times and have mutual friends. Okay, I misunderstood her.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then she probably knows Addie then.
I don't know. We'll wait and see what she says. And Jean says, Brittany, I don't know much about Doc's Pop, but can you get coroner's report there? And I don't know much about it either, so.
I may have to look into that because I have never heard of that myself. And if I have to go through some loopholes to get the coroner's report or the
We lost you again. I mean, you're still here, but we lost your voice. There you are.
that, or put them through that.
Hey, Mindy. Amy said, we can discuss that behind the scenes. I don't want to put other people's business out there, are not involved in the case. So she'll talk to you about everything.
Okay, I gotcha.
So, well, is there anything you would like to say before we go, like to anyone that might see this, meaning anyone you think might be involved, might know something, just to anyone?
Our whole thing
Think we lost you again, Brittany.
did, and eventually one of these days, it's going to eat at their conscience. We hope that somebody comes forward sooner than later. And, at this point, it's 5 years in. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on murder. I would hope not. But I mean, we just want answers. We want to know what happened to her. I mean, even if it were an accident, I mean,
Lost you again, hun.
and sidekicks and things.
Brittany, are you there, honey? We lost you again. Your voice.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, shoot. My internet connection is not the greatest. Basically at this point, I mean, like I said, without rambling on too much, we just want to know what happened to her and why. We definitely want closure. We know she's at peace, but for our own sake, we just need that closure. And the more people that get her case out there and, bring attention to it, the more pressure we can put on the detectives to get up off it and do something, the better, because that's our main concern right now. Hey, Addie. Are you still able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't lose connection again.
Yes, I thought you were responding to Addie. But,
she just came in on my live on TikTok for a minute.
Yeah. Well, it is possible, and I hope and I pray somebody sees this or your TikTok, and like you said, it eats at their conscience.
We can hope. We can hope that it does.
Yes. And, I don't know. Maybe people need to start emailing the sheriff and even calling them and put pressure on them.
Yeah, I think that's where the biggest problem lies, is that there's not enough pressure on the detectives. I mean, I don't know how much better IMPD would do, but I know that if we were to go to the media about it, I know that if we were to go to the media about it and, tell them, hey, look, we have this case and Owen County's not doing anything about it. Who knows on whether or not it would be our word against theirs. But the more pressure that we can put on Owen County, the more I feel like we can get them to finally get in gear, and they're going to realize, hey, we've got this case and we've done nothing about it. We have all these people contacting us and, asking all these questions, and we haven't done anything. So maybe if we light a fire under their tail, maybe they'll do something. So, I mean, the more people we get to, kind of raise awareness about this, the more that Owen County may finally do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they need to. It doesn't sound like they are. I mean, at all.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you.
So, okay. Well, we will be praying for you, sending prayers to you and your family for justice. And I want to thank you so much for coming on and telling your story.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, her story. I'm sorry. I misspoke. Her story. It takes bravery for that. I know it's not easy for you. So
definitely doesn't get any easier. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So I will let you go, and I want to thank you for answering the questions and everything. And I want you to try to have a good week.
I appreciate it. If anybody is interested, we do have the Justice for Gabby Facebook page, which is also linked to our GoFundMe to help raise an award a reward technically. We were hoping that by increasing the reward money, we would get somebody to talk. And hopefully, the more money we can get put together, it allows us to get more flyers put out there. And then if we don't get anyone to come forward, eventually that money will go into a trust fund for her 2 kids. So I do have the trust fund, or I do have the GoFundMe link in the Justice for Gabby Facebook page. And it is also located on my TikTok page as well.
Yes, and I have both of those linked, the Facebook page and the GoFundMe page, in the description, guys.
Awesome. I definitely appreciate that.
So, okay, Brittany, thank you so much again. And you have a good night. Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming and listening to Brittany tell her story. And thank you for being respectful, which you always are. And so we're going to end this tonight now. And Amy, thank you so much for sending this to me to do. And I'm glad you're going to be contacting her. So I will be on Graz's channel on Thursday doing a case. So I will see you guys then. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Any questions? Yeah, throw up those prayers for Brittany and Gabby. I could not imagine. Okay, guys. Thank you again for being here. Have a great night and a great week. And I'll see you on Thursday, if not before. Okay? God bless and good night.